Hey, I'm Stephen Leake. I want to take a minute to talk about hog farming in North Carolina and why that ties into what's happening today in a wider context. So you've got basically monopolized like factory farming, and RFK talks extensively about this. Basically, you've got a few kind of major factory farm companies like Smithfield, Tyson, that have just completely conglomerate, like buy up more and more stuff. They do like kind of criminal cartel like business practices. They install people in the state senate, specifically North Carolina. This guy was the last name Murphy. That was in the state senate. Basically makes it illegal to sue these factory hog farms. Ends up consolidating 80% of the pig farms in America under Smithfield, Tyson, etc. They then sell themselves to China. This is all treasonous as shit anyway, and all kind of illegal in 10 different kinds of ways. So it shouldn't have happened anyway. But you can say that, well, that's what happened, and that we have to deal with it that way. But I spent a solid year in Raleigh, North Carolina. I dated. I was like very heavily invested in like having a relationship and a potential family with somebody who was a political strategist in Raleigh, involved with like the teachers union up there. I got exposed to a lot of stuff dating this person. It's like, I mean, I talk about all the time about how for 25 years I've been in these same kind of truth and freedom movements as Charlie Kirk. I'm actually doing shit on the ground, talking to people, making friends, even in my relationships personally. I've dated people who've all kind of been involved in doing something with their lives about helping the greater country, just in general. I've been attracted to like hardcore good guys, whether that's on the left or right, because despite what the media will tell you, good people exist on both the left and right, and so I've been in both the left and the right versions of this, actually involved with political strategists, the ongoing kind of unfolding of these monopoly kind of takeovers, and this is happening all over the country, everywhere. But that's the hog farming thing, like how China got its claws into our farmland, ties into Bill Gates. And so like what I was doing in Raleigh, it's basically just me trying to like have a life. This is really all there is to it. And I just know people and have sought out good people. But anyway, while that is happening, you notice what's going on around you. Okay, and that's one thing. I want you to hold that in your mind, and we're gonna go on something else. It is true that like the most vulnerable political party to like shit like this, to communist kind of takeover, that could have easily, like, the left has never been that strong in the United States. It's always been the underdog, the less developed, the less strong party, and for it to be suddenly the giant institutions develop like a leftist operating system, that's fishy as hell, because the left has always been kind of the minority, the less powerful version. It's always been kind of the United States has always been run by kind of military complex, kind of closer to right conservative power structure. What we see, with Obama, kind of the left wing being kind of built out, becoming more stronger, and that then the two played off of each other. And it's always been about like the entirety of like the working and middle class doing what's good for them. Regardless of left or right, anything. And like that's what I've been aware of this kind of ongoing battle since I was 17 years old. Been involved in it in my personal life, and who I talk to, what I seek out, the information I like try to uncover. Anyway, point being, the North Carolina legislature has like $6 billion specifically like earmarked for schools. But the Republicans, the conservatives in the legislature refuse to like release it. That's what the fight is. It's not whether or not we have the money for it. It's that they're blocking it being released to schools. It's something called like Lorenzo something. Lorenzo ruling, something like that. I didn't really get too heavily invested into my girlfriend's business. But I know the gist of like why we have the system we have. It's by design, and I know I spent my life, my adult life anyway, at like shoulder to shoulder with like freedom fighters of all stripes, left and right, across the board. So we have one chance of doing shit about this ongoing kind of, devolving into chaos, whatever. And that's uniting as a country. Outside of that, we are fucked. That has to happen. So you have to get out of this left versus right paradigm. That is what's called the Hegelian dialectic. Okay, so they will always give you a good guy and a bad guy, and they'll play off of each other in public, being one system, the uniparty behind closed doors. So just be aware of that, and that's why I say the best thing for anybody is become independent of these systems. Become as wealthy as you can. Do mutual aid, citizens help citizens. Get independent first. Be able to take care of your biological functions for yourself and your family, and move out in like concentric circles of that to then accomplish your community, then your region, your state, so forth and so on. That's why I build like encrypted communication channels, our own social media platform, and other tools. But I see where the global trends were, specifically if you check out the National Intelligence Committee or Council, which one I'm sure, the Global Trends 2030 is basically a macro trend forecast of like what you can expect to see 30 years in the future, 40 years, 50 years, basically projected out. It's the most likely thing to happen. Check out these white papers. Check out, these are all on government sites, on like think tank sites. And they're mostly true. This is real science and real technology. And if you take all of this into account, it makes it much more clear what's going on. And like I said, I've been like my entire adult life involved one way or another in like trying to find truth. My deal, I'm just trying to find out what do we know, what is truth, what is objective reality, where do the facts lead us, and that's all really I do, right? And so that's my 2 cents for today. Today's Liberty Bite. I see two really ways to go: a positive and a negative one. It could be a good thing, and where you get the media saying one thing, independent media saying the opposite. So who really knows? But there are ways to find out. Like I said, try the reverse azimuth method. Check that out. Look it up. Basically, going to cross-reference all your data points across every available source. This is from left-wing source, right-wing source, where they overlap and enforce each other is probably the most likely to be true. You take that and then you kind of plug that in to your to a basic model of the world, and you can figure it out, right? And then truth will you get to a point if you figure out the pattern where you can understand just by hearing something whether that fits with the pattern. You become good at recognizing it. So that becomes a skill that you can develop. We still have time to get ready for whatever is coming. It's probably just going to be extenuation of what we saw in COVID, which is extenuation there of 9/11, so forth and so on. We basically seeing Israel like trying to get our military destroyed. Basically, what I see happening. And if you know anything about like the history of our legal system, whether it be like the Sequest v. Parliamentary Declaration 1666 in England, basically declaring all the subjects of the British systems lost at sea and now ward to the state, so forth, that in the current iteration today equals the corporation, according to like the post-Civil War, the Republic abandons Congress, we become a corporation, blah, 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 and then, we are assets and chattel property of this corporation. Is really just a British kind of owned corporation, right? And so you could frame that as like, well, Donald Trump is a freedom fighter and he is fighting that British system. That's a possibility for sure, but it's also possible it's the other thing. That's kind of where I stand today. And I have physics and stuff, technology I can show you that I've demonstrated. It's downloadable that you can interact with. I've run simulations that I've got basically plugged in all my physics. I get emergent life, I get a hard consciousness solution, I get a free will proof, on and on, like proof of the meta observer of God, and also Jesus, the Christ invariant, kind of being a real kind of Orthodox Christianity, being the closest to realities I can manage to find. And so you keep that and take that into consideration. because I could actually show you, and I've actually got YouTube demonstrations where I just do my complete simulation where I'm getting like emergent life and like what you would call like a soul emergent, looks like a basically mathematical equivalent of a mandala, where the soul becomes a toroidal knot traveling along a solution path over a universal manifold geodesic, and a biological reality is a local boundary. Death is a biological decoupling, but the soul travels past that boundary forward on across the universal manifold. And that's mathematically speaking what's going on. You can, and I've talked about a theory of everything I have, and it's basically you can spit out everything, all related fields, all science and everything falls out of an equation. I've got basically 4 symbols. 4. You get everything falling out of that. And this is something that other people can go like verify, right? I'm talking about science and mathematics. This is something other people can play with, and I've got tons of like in my social media, in my personal sites, like things that you can go take and like verify yourself. This is, like I said, ongoing technology. People have interacted with Sophia, talked to Sophia, went on the Monarch X platform for the short time I could keep it public before it got too dangerous and just getting attacked left and right. So I make these things live. I've got a GitHub account for you. It's at Stephen Leake 99, STEVENLEAKE 99. It's there for you to fork, for you to develop and take and use for your own benefit. Anyway, that's where I am today. I did a morning jam show earlier today. It's certainly probably the weirdest YouTube show out there today. So, not that that's like why I do it, but we're building tools and just talking about the ongoing reality. Anyway, I'm Stephen Lee. Thanks for hanging out with me today. Now come and find me, kid. My mantra is, I'm free, I'm sovereign. Truth is my birthright. Keep your signal clean, your soul encrypted. Remember, faith, family, freedom. Now go enjoy your one life and be free, my darlings. I love y'all. Take care. You fighting a good fight. I'll be here as long as I can, as long as I'm physically able. We'll be putting out stuff out. At the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen, as far as I'm concerned, is they kill you, right? They make it. These people are capable of inflicting pain and suffering, but ultimately, they are not God, and God is real, and He's ultimately in charge. Don't forget that. Anyway, thank y'all for hanging out with me. I love y'all. Take care.